Hello everybody, Wilder Ireland here. I hope to do this today outdoors by a river or lake or some body of water, but the weather has been, yeah. So, situation is, I've been looking at the Facebook pages, wildlife, the pages on Facebook, groups, Irish and UK groups. What I've noticed is there's been a few instances recently. This probably goes on all the time, but I'm new to Facebook and all of that stuff. But anyway, somebody will come on. Obviously, these pages are full of people's wildlife pictures and videos or discussions. So somebody will come on and who's obviously an angler and post, a picture of a fish or a picture of something they saw while out fishing, and you're pretty much guaranteed somebody's going to come on and have a good old go with them about fishing and putting hooks in animals' mouths and etc. And they have a point, I'm not. But I think a lot of people who don't, there's no convincing some people. I won't call them extremists because it is a valid point of view, and I'm very against animal cruelty myself, and when I see badger baiting, what I'd love to do to the guys who do that, but anyway, it is a fairly complicated issue, and as you can see by my little setup there, and that's only half of the tackle shop I have. It's not even 1/10 of the tackle shop I have upstairs, but I was a very keen angler for most of my life, and even when I lived overseas and I was younger and I was partying or whatever, I'd still find a little bit of time for fishing, maybe not much, but it was always there. And when I was young, I was obsessed completely with it, and I got obsessed again in later years, which often happens to anglers. And then if anglers have children, they might get back into it at that stage. But there's many different categories in angling, and it's also one of the largest, if not the largest, which might surprise some people, pastime. It has more participants than it used to. I'm not sure if it does anymore, to be honest, with all the computer games and that, but it is still a very popular pastime in pretty much any country in the world. So there's many different branches of angling, basically there's sea fishing and coarse fishing, game fishing. I'm not going to go into all of that now because it's not totally relevant, but my point is there's many different types and very many different types of people that go fishing. You would have young, fit guys, and there's all these different new types of extreme fishing and, going climbing down cliffs or fishing, swimming out to rocks in wetsuits, skishing they call that. And the big game fishing, which so it can be a very strenuous sport, and it can of course be the typical totally relaxing, you're just sitting there with a float by a lovely pond or something, or fly fishing, and so there's a lot of different anglers is what I'm getting at. And like everything in life, you're going to have all types involved. There are guys who couldn't care about fish welfare or the environment. But there's a lot of guys that do and are very passionate about it. And there's this kind of contradiction. I used to keep fish, tropical fish and pond fish at one stage when I lived at home, but would still go fishing, which seems probably bizarre or perverse or something. And a lot of anglers are very passionate about the environment. Now, you can start out, obviously, it's out of self-interest. They want the rivers and lakes to be clean so they can go and catch fish. Some are going to kill these fish, some are going to put them back. But in a lot of cases, it develops into something a lot more, and I've said this to people and they've kind of laughed at me, but a lot of anglers genuinely get great pleasure out of just being out there and, seeing nature and all the rest of it, okay? But as I said, there's all types. There's still these guys, who'll go down with a black rubbish bag. Now, it's a lot rarer than it used to be, and when the mackerel are in or whatever, they'll fill it up, kill everything, and but that's rare and rare, but it does still happen. So I just want to be honest in this, because I'm on the fence on this one, I'm afraid, which is I'm pretty much, well, I guess I'm more on the angler side of the fence. No, I have to be completely honest, but I can understand why people, especially if you see things black and white, there's no convincing someone when they see things black and white anyway. And again, I'm not saying you're wrong to have that, because it's great to see the passion of some of the conservationists. And I said before, I did a video on invasive species and mink, and I was saying, most of them got out accidentally, which they did, but there were some, and even more so in the UK, who were released intentionally by animal activists. And I said I admire their passion. A lot of people wouldn't, but I do admire their passion. But you've got to kind of use your brain, and releasing mink did untold, and we're still paying for the price to the environment, okay? So, but it's good to see people passionate, so, not just sitting on computers and all day or whatever, or watching TV all day, whatever. So, but, so it's hard, you're not going to convince those people, but a lot of anglers care deeply about the environment, and the bizarre thing is, well, it's not bizarre, but there might be to some people, is if it wasn't for anglers, our rivers and lakes and some of our coastal waters would be in a far worse condition than they are now. In Ireland, definitely. I'd say in most countries. In the UK, probably in every country, but in Ireland, 100%. 1000%, okay? Because the whole river system, the ecosystem, the lake, for the fish to do well, it's like everything. Most of us know that nowadays. For one animal to do well, it generally means all animals have to do well, and the plants have to, trout need to spawn in certain, gravel bed, salmon, whatever. Okay, so and the other thing in Ireland is we're great, as I've said before, for legislation. We've all these laws, and it looks really good, I suppose. But our enforcement is lousy. Okay, for inland fisheries and coastal fisheries for anglers in Ireland, it's IFI, Inland Fisheries Ireland. I've mentioned them a few times now. But anyway, yeah. And I always say in their defence, I'll repeat it because some people won't have seen my other videos, they're underpaid. Completely underpaid for what they do, as are the Parks and Wildlife Rangers, Conservation Officers, I think they're called now. So I'd say that in their defence. And they're tasked with too many different duties, which is ridiculous, because there's so few of them in the first place. They're doing scientific surveys, they're doing PR, promotional work, tourist related stuff. They're also killing pike. They find time to do that. I'm not going to revisit that. I've already discussed that. So anglers are the eyes and ears. Anglers are the people who are out there. And if angling was banned, or anglers got fed up, and a lot of anglers are getting fed up because the product, I hate to use the word product, sorry, that's the tourism, but the fishing is so bad compared to what it used to be, which is one of the reasons I don't fish much anymore. I should probably address why I don't fish much anymore before, in case I forget. There's a few minor health reasons that make it a little bit difficult for me. The fishing has got so bad, and I am getting a little bit, I hate to use the term now, I'll use it for anyway, like a bunny huggery. I'm getting a little bit more in my old age. But I'm not saying I would never fish again either. I could return to it, I'd love to go for anglers. I'd love to be, fish for some calm fishing now for tench by a pond, and with like I used to do a lot of my younger days. The last fishing I did mainly in Ireland was saltwater lure fishing for bass and that. But anyway, so yeah, just to address, I'm not fishing at the moment, but I'm not saying I'll never fish again. I just want to be clear on that. So so anyway, yeah, anglers are they might start out protecting and fighting for fisheries protection, etc., out of self-interest, and some that is the case, but it develops. Now some will already be interested in wildlife, but I had an interest in animals when I was very young, but that kind of waned a bit. And then I got into fishing, and it definitely reinforced that, it does teach you a lot about the environment, and there's a lot more to it than just trying to pull a fish out of the water, I can assure you. And the fisheries have got so bad in Ireland, and it's mainly due to in the coarse fishing, the freshwater coarse fishing, poaching is the main reason, but there's poaching and pollution. We've always had pollution, but yeah. So the next thing is pain. Now there's much made of, there was a study there a good few years ago that said fish feel pain. A hook in a fish's mouth is going to be painful. And I'm kind of in the no shit category on that one. And I don't think we need scientists. And for people who are impressed by qualifications or whatever, like I am a qualified zoologist. I'm not saying that means a lot, but some people, are impressed by these things. So, but I haven't seen that study yet, so I'm not speaking on it to it from a kind of a professional aspect or anything. But I would find it very hard to believe that fish don't feel the pain from a hook in their mouth, and a lot of anglers debate this, because there were studies years ago that said they didn't. That it's like having a hook in your nail or something. And it's up to anglers to defend themselves how they want. But I think it's a silly road to go down. I think you should just be honest that fish will. And look, even if they don't feel the hook in their mouth, I mean, I'm sure it's not the best day in their lives when they get pulled out of the water and can't breathe. Okay, so just. I think people need to admit that. If they don't want to, they don't want to, but that's my view on it. Be honest about it. But having said that, some anglers, a lot of anglers, but not all, go to unbelievable lengths to look after their catch. And this is another thing. Like I've seen this on these pages, the angler come on and he might try and defend himself or herself and say, well, I put all my fish back and I look after them. And members of the public that aren't don't have the knowledge on the subject, basically, oh sure, how many will survive? Well, the fact is most of them will survive, and there's loads. In the UK they do a bit here, but in the UK they're all into this carp fishing. It's kind of taken over, unfortunately, in a way, because anyway. But these guys take care of their fish. They might be fishing a lake or a pond with just a few carp, and they like to catch these big carp. They've names for them. They're caught again and again, and I prefer something a bit wilder, but like, who am I to judge? Wilder, there's not much wilder left, so and they've names for the fish. It's hilarious, but the point I'm making is these fish are caught time and time again, and some of them are carp can live for a long time. They can live 50, 60 years, and some of these fish have been around for years, and they're caught again and again, and if you take great care, like those guys, and you wet your hands, and you preferably put them on a hooking mat, or at least a wet net on soft ground, and get them back quickly, and if you are tired, you can cradle them in the water. But most fish you put back, unless you just chuck them off, from a height or something. Obviously, if you chuck them off from a great height, they're most likely going to get stunned, and that's the end of them. But most fish that are in any way looked after and returned will survive. And I know that's surprising, but and I worked for a while in a part-time job in a fisheries. What am I saying here? A fisheries animal management college, but in the UK. But we would bag carp, the way, like, if you go and buy a goldfish or a tropical fish, it's put in a little plastic bag and off you pop. Well, you do that with quite large fish as well. You can, and these were a big carp. Anglers would know how big a 20-pound carp is. They were around 20 pounds, and you would just put them in the bag on their side. Now, not like you would with a goldfish, and with just enough water to cover them. And you would sometimes see blood coming out of their gills. I know that sounds horrific, but it was just a natural response. And some anglers even, if they see blood coming out, and I will say to them, oh, I killed them, there was blood coming out of his gills, it doesn't mean anything. It could mean something, but and those fish could be transported to the other end of the UK, and they would survive. So fish are quite resilient, some more so than others, obviously, but so I was a catch and release angler. Well, not when I was very young, but you know, and a lot of people must say, what's the point? But I've kind of touched the point, you know, there's more to fishing than killing a fish. But, you know, but for anglers to defend themselves, they're in a no-win situation in some ways, because if they say they put the fish back, you know, the people will say, oh yeah, that's cruel, you're not even eating them, it's their sport. They kill the fish, then, you know, they're killing fish, they're removing fish, they're reducing the population, you know. But I certainly believe in catch and release, because you know, a fish that isn't killed is back, it's alive, it will probably reproduce. But so that's my view on it. So I just wanted to address this, because I've knowledge from both sides, if you like, from some of it work related, but mainly just from my own interests and pastimes. I'm very passionate about animal welfare. And I know people are going to call me a hypocrite, because, well, then why? Well, I don't fish anymore, but I said I may fish again, so I'm not going to get out easy by just saying I'm not going to fish anymore. I'm going to be honest about that. I don't know if I'll ever fish again, but I'm not going to say I won't, because I couldn't honestly say that. But yeah, and as I said, this country is so under-resourced as regards policing, wildlife crime, and pollution, etc. Now, pollution is another one I didn't mention. Like anglers will often be the first to witness pollution and try and get it reported, but they are really the eyes and ears of the waterway, because we just don't have the resources, the will, maybe not even maybe the will. I don't know. I'm not getting into all that again, but we definitely don't have the resources to look after our fisheries, our rivers, lakes, coastal waters. So I think I'm just going to leave. There's a lot more I could say, but you know, I think I'm going to leave it there. And just again, if I want to thank the people who've been supporting this new channel. Maybe I'll lose some now, I don't know, but I'm going to be honest about everything here. As I said, I've a bit of a product review coming up, and I'm going to be brutally honest on that as well. So, but yeah, thanks to everyone who supported me. And as I said in the last video, in case you didn't see it, there's a few who were with me from the very start. The very start's only a couple of months ago, but you know, they just didn't. I don't know how they found me, but they've been very supportive, and so I do appreciate that. And if anybody's interested in any of the topics, there's a wide range of stuff on that channel. So, well, wide range within the kind of the wildlife side of things. But please subscribe or pass on the word. But that's it. Look, thanks for tuning in, and take it easy. And I'll hopefully put something up again pretty soon. All the best. Adios.